The Varan system hung in the darkness of space like a forgotten jewel. 3 massive fleets surrounded it from different directions. Ships from the Kreth Dominion painted the void with their red running lights. The golden vessels of the Salvaxi Empire stretched for thousands of kilometers. And the silver warships of the Thulian Confederacy completed the circle. 400 warships total, the largest combined fleet anyone had seen in 50 years. Inside the Kreth flagship, Admiral Voth studied the holographic display with satisfaction. His purple skin rippled with pleasure as he counted the ships under his command. 150 vessels, enough to crush any resistance. The humans have only 12 ships guarding their borders, his second officer reported. Our intelligence confirms they lack proper weapons technology. Voth laughed, a sound like grinding metal. 12 ships. They've been in space for 50 years, and that's all they can manage? Across the system, Admiral Kess of the Salvaxi Empire was thinking similar thoughts. Her 6 eyes tracked the formation of her 130 ships. The humans were young, weak, their technology was primitive. They had joined the galactic community with nothing but hope and friendly words. It will be easy, Kess told her officers. We take the outer colonies first. The humans will surrender before we reach Earth. On the Thulian command ship, Admiral Thorak nodded his massive head. His species was known for careful planning. They had watched humanity for decades. The humans were small. Their ships were slow. They focused on science and exploration instead of military power. It made them perfect targets. 120 ships, Thorak rumbled. More than enough. The 3 admirals had spent months planning this moment. They had met in secret. They had divided human territory among themselves. The Kreth would take the mining colonies. The Salvaxi would claim the agricultural worlds. The Thulians would control the trade routes. Earth itself would be shared. Humanity would become servants, workers. The empires would grow rich from human labor. In the center of the Varan system, a small human diplomatic ship floated alone. It looked tiny compared to the war fleets. Inside, Ambassador Min Jun Park sat at his desk and tried one more time. Please reconsider, he said over the open channel. His voice was calm but tired. You don't understand what you're doing. Admiral Voth's face appeared on the screen. We understand perfectly, human. Your species is weak. You have no military. You have no allies. You will surrender, or you will die. We came in peace, Min Jun continued. We shared our culture, our art, our music. We asked for nothing but friendship. And we are grateful, Admiral Kess interrupted, her image joining the call. You have shown us that your species is soft, easy to control. You're making a mistake, Min Jun warned. A terrible mistake. Admiral Thorak's face filled the final portion of the screen. The only mistake was yours, human. You should have built weapons instead of research stations. You should have prepared for war instead of singing songs about peace. Min Jun closed his eyes for a moment. He had tried. For weeks, he had tried to warn them, but they wouldn't listen. They saw humanity's peaceful nature as weakness. They didn't understand. I am authorized to tell you one thing, Min Jun said quietly. The 3 admirals waited, their expressions amused. Humanity made a choice 50 years ago, Min Jun explained. When we developed faster-than-light travel, we had to decide what kind of species we wanted to be. We chose peace. We chose exploration. We chose to build friendships instead of armies. Exactly, Voth sneered. And now you will pay for that choice. But we were protected, Min Jun continued. We didn't need armies. We didn't need weapons. Because we have something better. Nothing is better than weapons, Kess said. We have family, Min Jun replied. Family that loves us. Family that will protect us. Family from places you cannot imagine. The 3 admirals looked confused. Then they laughed. Your families are about to become our servants, Thorak said. Min Jun opened his eyes. There was sadness in them. I tried. Remember that. I really tried to warn you. He closed the channel. Begin the invasion. Admiral Voth ordered. The 400 warships began to move. Their engines powered up. Their weapons armed. They formed into 3 massive spearhead formations, each aimed at a different human colony world. Then something appeared on their sensors. Admiral, a Kreth officer called out. Unknown contact. Single vessel. Destroy it, Voth ordered without looking up. Sir, it's moving too fast. We can't get a weapons lock. Now Voth looked. The sensor display showed a contact that appeared and disappeared. It moved at speeds that shouldn't be possible. One moment, it was 1,000 kilometers away. The next moment, it was right beside a Salvaxi destroyer. Then, it vanished again. What is that? Kess demanded over the fleet channel. Sensor malfunction, Thorax suggested. Some kind of human trick, but deep down, all 3 admirals felt something they hadn't felt in years. They felt uncertainty, and the unknown contact kept moving through their fleets, getting closer. Admiral Voth stared at the sensor display. The unknown contact had been playing with them for 10 minutes now. It appeared near one ship, then vanished. It showed up halfway across the system, then disappeared again. His best officers couldn't explain it. Send scout ships, Voth ordered. Find out what this is. 3 Kreth scout vessels broke formation. They were fast ships, built for reconnaissance. Their pilots were skilled. They followed the strange sensor readings toward the edge of the system. Then they vanished. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just gone. One moment, they were there, on sensors. The next moment, nothing. Get them back on communications, Voth demanded. No response, sir. The communications officer reported. They're just gone. Across the fleet, Admiral Kess sent her own scouts. 5 Salvaxi ships, the best in her fleet. They moved in perfect formation, covering each other. They reached the area where the Kreth scouts had disappeared. They vanished too. Admiral Thorak watched from his command ship. His 4 eyes narrowed. The Thulians didn't believe in luck or coincidence. Something was hunting their ships. Something fast and silent. All vessels, maintain formation, Thorak ordered. No more scout missions. Should we abort the invasion? His first officer asked quietly. No. We have 400 ships. Nothing can stand against us. But Thorak's voice wasn't as confident as before. On his small diplomatic ship, Ambassador Minjun Park opened a new channel. This time, he broadcast to every ship in all 3 fleets. I need to tell you something, Minjun said. Something important. Silence, human, Voth snapped. Or we destroy your ship first. You're not invading human space, Minjun continued, ignoring the threat. You think you are. But you're wrong. You're already standing in human territory. Impossible, Admiral Kess said. This is the Varan system. Neutral space. It was neutral, Minjun agreed. 50 years ago. But we claimed it. We just never told anyone. We didn't need to. We knew we were protected. Protected by what? Thorak demanded. You have 12 ships. We have 400. Protected by them, Minjun said simply. The sensor displays across all 3 fleets suddenly screamed warnings. The unknown contact had stopped moving. It was now directly in front of the invasion fleet. And it wasn't hiding anymore. Every sensor locked onto it at once. The energy readings were impossible. The size estimates kept climbing. Officers checked their equipment. Certain, there must be an error. There was no error. It's huge, a Kreth officer whispered. Admiral Voth felt his blood run cold. 4 kilometers. His flagship was only 1 kilometer. The largest Salvaxi dreadnought was 2 kilometers. This thing was bigger than anything that should exist. What is it? Kess asked. I don't know, Voth admitted. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our databases. On the Thulian command ship, Admiral Thorax, tactical officer, was working frantically. "Admiral, the readings are wrong. They have to be wrong." "Explain." "The energy output is off the scale. If those readings are accurate, that single ship has more power than our entire fleet combined." Thorax's hands gripped his command chair. "That's not possible." But it was there. On every sensor, every display, something massive hung in space between the empires and their targets. Something that hadn't been there a moment ago. Then it became visible. Space itself seemed to ripple. Reality bent. And suddenly, where there had been empty darkness, there was a ship. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its hull was dark, almost black, but covered in lines of blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The shape was smooth and organic, nothing like the angular military ships of the three empires. It looked alive. Weapons covered its surface. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. But they weren't like normal weapons. They didn't have barrels or launch tubes. They were strange geometric patterns that glowed with internal light. Along the side of the ship, in letters that shone bright enough to read across thousands of kilometers, was its designation: HTSV Harbinger. HTSV. Admiral Kess read aloud. "What does that mean?" 71. 71. 1T. 1T. A new voice came over the communications channel. It was human. Male. Calm. And professional. "Human temporal security vessel," the voice explained. "This is Commander Chen of the HTSV Harbinger. You are ordered to power down your weapons and withdraw from this system immediately." Temporal. The word meant time. Admiral Voth's mind raced. Was this some kind of time ship? That was impossible. Time travel was theoretical. No species had ever mastered it. "This is Admiral Voth of the Kreth Dominion," he replied, trying to sound strong. "You are outnumbered, 400 to 1. Stand down, or be destroyed." "You misunderstand the situation," Commander Chen said, his voice still calm. "You are not outnumbered. You are outmatched. There is a difference." "We will not be intimidated by human tricks," Admiral Kess declared. "This is not a trick," Minjun Park interrupted. "I tried to warn you. Humanity chose peace. We gave up military power. But we were protected. Our descendants protected us." "Descendants?" Thorak asked. "The Harbinger is from the future," Minjun explained. 800 years in the future. When you planned this invasion, you created a timeline where humanity was forced to develop weapons. Terrible weapons. Weapons that could destroy empires. The humans of that future sent the Harbinger back to prevent it. "Impossible," Voth said again, but his voice shook. The Harbinger pulsed with light. Energy readings spiked across every sensor. "You have 60 seconds to begin your withdrawal," Commander Chen announced. "If you refuse, we will enforce temporal protocols. Your ships will not be destroyed, but you will wish they had been." Admiral Voth looked at the massive ship on his display. He thought about the 8 scout vessels that had simply vanished. He thought about the impossible energy readings. He thought about 4 kilometers of unknown weapons. But he also thought about his reputation, his pride, the treaties he had signed with the other empires. "All ships," Voth ordered, "prepare to attack." The HTSV Harbinger hung motionless in space, waiting. 400 warships faced it. Weapons charged and ready. The 3 Empire fleets had combined their formations into one massive attack force. Admiral Voth gave the order. "Fire everything." 50 ships opened fire at once. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes, kinetic rounds. Everything the empires had. The weapons streaked through space toward the Harbinger. Enough firepower to crack a planet. The Harbinger didn't move. Small ports opened across its dark hull. Tiny points of blue light appeared. And suddenly, every single weapon stopped, not exploded. Missiles froze in mid-flight. hanging in space like insects trapped in amber. Energy beams bent around the Harbinger, curving away into empty space. Plasma bolts simply vanished. Kinetic rounds slowed, stopped, then dropped toward the system's star. What just happened? Admiral Kess demanded. Her tactical officer's hands were shaking. I don't know. The weapons just stopped working. On the Kreth flagship, alarms screamed. Admiral, our missile systems are not responding. The weapons fired, but now they're frozen. Some kind of stasis field. Thank you for watching. I meted Chanter. Admiral Voth watched the display in horror. Hundreds of weapons, the most advanced in 3 empires, hung uselessly in space. The Harbinger hadn't even moved. Fire again, Voth ordered. All ships, everything. The entire fleet opened fire. 150 Kreth ships, 130 Salvaxi vessels, 120 Thulian warships. The sky lit up with weapons fire. It was the largest coordinated attack in galactic history. The Harbinger's point defense systems activated fully. This time, the Empire crews saw what happened. The small blue lights on the Harbinger's hull pulsed. Space itself seemed to twist, and every weapon that came within 1,000 kilometers of the ship simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not deflected. They were there one moment, and gone the next. As if they had never existed at all. Temporal manipulation, Min Jun Park said over the open channel. They're erasing your weapons from the timeline. You're not fighting a ship. You're fighting physics you don't understand. Commander Chen's voice came through, still calm. Your 60 seconds are up. You were warned. The Harbinger began to glow. The blue lines across its hull brightened until they were almost white. The strange geometric weapons on its surface started to rotate slowly. All ships, evasive maneuvers. But it was already too late. The Harbinger didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, it projected fields of temporal energy toward the Empire fleets. The fields were invisible, but sensors detected them as ripples in space-time itself. The first ripple hit a group of 10 Kreth destroyers. The ships didn't explode. Instead, their hulls began to age. New paint became old. Shiny metal turned dull and corroded. In seconds, the ships looked like they had been in service for centuries. Warning lights flashed across their bridges as systems failed. Inside those ships, crews watched in terror as parts of their vessels crumbled into rust and dust. The second ripple caught a Salvaxi battlecruiser. This time slowed down around the ship. From the outside, the vessel appeared frozen, barely moving. Inside, the crew experienced everything normally. They tried to fire weapons, tried to move. But to the rest of the universe, they were moving at a crawl. Days would pass for them while seconds passed outside. A third ripple touched a Thulian dreadnought. Time reversed around it. The ship began to move backward along its flight path. Weapons that had been fired were suddenly unfired. Commands that had been given were forgotten. The crew experienced the last 5 minutes in reverse, trapped in a loop. Stop! Admiral Voth screamed. Stop this! Cease fire immediately, Commander Chen replied. Power down all weapons. Begin withdrawal. These are your only options. But Admiral Kess was beyond reason. Keep firing. We can't let them win. More temporal fields swept through the fleet. A Kreth carrier found itself split across 2 different moments in time. Half the ship existed 5 seconds in the past, half in the present. Look small today. 9. Look small today. 9. The 2 halves couldn't communicate, couldn't coordinate. The crew was trapped between moments. A squadron of Salvaxi fighters tried to close with the Harbinger. Time accelerated around them. They aged centuries in seconds. Pilots became old, then ancient, then dust. Their ships became floating tombs. Admiral Thorak watched his fleet being dismantled by physics he couldn't comprehend. No explosions. No heroic last stands. Just ships being removed from normal time. Their crews trapped, or aged, or frozen. Withdraw, he ordered quietly. All Thulian ships, withdraw, immediately. But the Kreeth and Salvaxi were still fighting, still firing uselessly at the Harbinger. On his diplomatic ship, Minjun Park felt tears on his face. You could have just left, he said. We didn't want this. We never wanted this. Commander Chen spoke again, and this time there was sadness in his voice. We know. We remember. In our time, we studied this moment in history. We know that Ambassador Park tried 17 times to negotiate peace. We know that you begged them to reconsider. That's why we were sent. To honor your efforts. To prove that your peace was not weakness. The Harbinger released another wave of temporal energy. This one was different. It didn't harm ships. It stopped them. Every vessel in all 3 fleets suddenly found their engines frozen in time. Power systems locked. Weapons offline. Life support still functioning. But nothing else. 400 warships became 400 floating prisons. Now, Commander Chen said, you will listen. And you will learn why attacking humanity is a mistake you only make once. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Minjun Park prepared to negotiate. But this time, he negotiated from a position of absolute power. The empires had come to conquer. Instead, they had learned regret. 400 ships hung dead in space. Inside them, crews frantically worked to restore power, but nothing responded. The Harbinger's temporal fields had locked every military system in a moment of frozen time. Only life support remained active. Admiral Voth slammed his fist against his command console. It didn't help. His flagship, the pride of the Kreeth Dominion, was helpless. Around him, his officers tried everything they knew. Nothing worked. Status report, Voth demanded. Engines are locked, sir. Weapons offline. Navigation frozen. We're completely dead in space. Admiral Kess was having the same conversation on her ship. Her 6 eyes scanned the displays, looking for any system that still functioned. There was nothing. The Salvaxi Empire's finest vessels were floating monuments to their failure. How is this possible? Kess asked her science officer. The officer's voice shook. Admiral, our timekeeping systems are showing irregularities. Ships' chronometers are running at different speeds in different sections. The engineering deck is experiencing time 3 seconds slower than the bridge. The temporal fields are still affecting us. On the Thulian command ship, Admiral Thorak sat very still. His species had survived for thousands of years by knowing when they were beaten. They were beaten now. Thoroughly. Completely. Casualties? Thorak asked. 27 ships have crews that aged too rapidly. They're gone, sir. 15 ships are stuck in time loops. Their crews are reliving the same moments over and over. 32 ships are experiencing extreme time dilation. Days are passing for them, while minutes pass for us. Capturon. Thorak closed all 4 eyes. Hundreds of his people were suffering, dying, trapped, and he had led them here. Commander Chen's voice filled every bridge in every ship. I will now explain what you attempted to do and why it failed. Holographic displays activated across all 3 fleets. They showed images, timelines, branching possibilities. This is your original timeline, Chen said. A golden line appeared in the display. In this timeline, humanity develops peacefully. We explore. We create. We become friends with other species. We never build weapons of war because we never need them. The timeline split. A red branch appeared. This is the timeline you just created. In this timeline, 3 empires attack peaceful humanity. We are forced to militarize. We develop weapons. Not just normal weapons. Temporal weapons. Weapons that can erase species from history. Within 200 years, humanity becomes the most feared power in the galaxy. The red timeline showed images. Human ships, weapons, platforms, Technology that looked almost magical. Within 500 years, humanity masters time itself. We can move through it, change it, control it. The three empires that attacked us? In that timeline, they no longer exist. They never existed. We erased them from history itself. Admiral Voth felt sick. The images showed Kreeth worlds empty, Salvaxi cities abandoned, Thulian star systems dark and lifeless. But that timeline is terrible. Chen continued. Humanity never wanted to become weapons masters. We wanted to explore, to learn, to be friends. So, humans 800 years in the future, my time. We looked back. We studied the moment when everything changed. The display showed Ambassador Minjun Park. It showed his 17 attempts to negotiate, his desperate warnings. We saw that you were warned. We saw that one human tried so hard to prevent war. So we built 12 ships, 12 temporal security vessels. We sent them back to protect the peaceful timeline. The Harbinger is one of those 12. A new timeline appeared. This one blue and bright. This is the timeline we're protecting. The one where humanity stays peaceful. Where we explore instead of conquer. Where we make friends instead of enemies. We will do anything to protect this timeline. The hologram changed. It showed the Harbinger. Then it showed 11 more ships just like it. All hidden. All watching. 12 ships guard humanity's past, Chen said. 12 ships that cannot be defeated by any technology in your time. We exist outside your normal physics. We can manipulate time itself. And we are always watching. Admiral Kess found her voice. Why are you telling us this? Because you need to understand, Chen replied. This isn't about military strength. This is about choice. In the timeline you tried to create, you forced humanity to become monsters. We won, yes. We dominated the galaxy. But we lost ourselves. We became exactly what you feared. Ambassador Minjun Park's voice joined the broadcast. Humanity chose peace. We chose it knowing we might seem weak. We chose it because we believed it was right. But we were protected. Our future selves loved us enough to save us from your violence. The temporal fields around the fleet began to release. Power systems came back online slowly. Engines hummed to life. Weapons remained locked. But ships could move again. You are free to leave, Commander Chen announced. Your ships are yours again. But understand this. If you ever attack humanity again, if any empire attacks humanity, the Harbinger will return. And next time, we won't just stop you. We'll erase your entire species from the timeline. You will have never existed. Admiral Thorax spoke carefully. You could do that now. Why don't you? Because we're still human, Chen said simply. Even 800 years in the future, we remember what mercy means. We remember that revenge creates endless cycles of violence, so we're giving you a choice. Leave now. Never return. And we'll forget this happened. Like sea. Like sea. Like sea. Like sea. And if we refuse? Admiral Voth asked, though his voice had no fight left in it. Then you'll discover that time is not your friend. The Harbinger's weapons rotated slowly, a clear reminder of what they could do. Admiral Kess made the decision for all of them. We will withdraw. All ships, prepare to leave the system. Wait, Minjun Park said. Before you go, you need to make this right. You came here to start a war. You need to leave here guaranteeing peace. The three admirals looked at each other across the communication channels. They were defeated. They were humiliated. But they were still alive. Their crews were mostly alive. That was more mercy than they had planned to show humanity. What do you want? Thorak asked quietly. I want your word, Minjun said. And I want it in writing. I want treaties. Real ones. Treaties that recognize human sovereignty. treaties that ensure this never happens again." There was a long silence. Then, one by one, the three admirals agreed. They had come to conquer humanity. They would leave as humanity's sworn protectors. 3 days later, Ambassador Min Jun Park sat in his small diplomatic ship and watched history being made. The treaty signing was taking place in the Varan system, in the same space where an invasion fleet had once gathered. But now, everything was different. Admiral Voth signed his name to the treaty document. His hand shook slightly. The treaty recognized human sovereignty over 15 systems. It established a demilitarized zone around all human space. It required the Kreth Dominion to pay reparations for the attempted invasion. Most importantly, it bound the Kreth to protect humanity from any future threats. "I never thought I would sign such a treaty," Voth admitted quietly. "I came here to conquer you." "I know," Minjun said. "But you learned something more valuable than conquest." Admiral Kess signed next. Her 6 eyes were dim with shame. The Salvaxi Empire had lost 30 ships to temporal effects. 300 of her people had aged to death or were still trapped in time loops. The Harbinger had released most of them. But some effects were permanent. "My people will call me a coward," Kess said as she signed. "They will say, 'I should have fought to the death.' Your people are alive because you were wise, not a coward," Minjun replied. "Wisdom is knowing when to stop fighting." Admiral Thorak was the last to sign. The massive Thulian studied the treaty carefully before adding his mark. His species valued contracts above all else. This one would bind them for generations. "Tell me something, Ambassador," Thorak said. "The Harbinger could have destroyed us all in seconds. Why didn't it?" Minjun smiled sadly. "Because that's not who we are. Even 800 years in the future, humans remember mercy. Commander Chen and his crew could have erased your empires from existence. Instead, they gave you a chance to choose peace. You are a strange species," Thorak observed. "Powerful enough to destroy us, yet you choose not to." "We're powerful because we choose not to," Minjun corrected. "That's the lesson. Real strength isn't about weapons. It's about knowing when not to use them." The 3 admirals departed then, their fleets limping away slowly. They left behind floating monuments to their failure. Ships too damaged to move. Crews too traumatized to continue. The empires would spend years recovering from this defeat. Minjun watched them go. Then he opened a private channel to the Harbinger, which still hung in space, dark and beautiful. "Commander Chen? They're gone." "We saw," Chen's voice replied. "You did well, Ambassador, just as the history books said you would." "History books? In our time, you're famous. The man who kept humanity peaceful. The diplomat who faced down 3 empires with nothing but words and hope. We learn about you in school." Minjun felt overwhelmed. "I was just doing my job. You were doing more than that. You were protecting our future. The peaceful future." A small shuttle launched from the Harbinger. It approached Minjun's ship slowly. He gave permission for it to dock. Commander Chen stepped through the airlock. He was young, perhaps 30, with kind eyes and an easy smile. He looked completely human. But Minjun knew he was from 800 years in the future. "I wanted to meet you in person," Chen said, "before we return to our own time." They sat together in the small observation room. Through the window, they could see the Harbinger glowing softly in the darkness. "What's it like?" Minjun asked. "Beautiful," Chen said. "Humanity has explored half the galaxy. We've made friends with 200 species. We have cities in space that house millions. We've cured diseases, solved hunger, created art that would make you weep. All because we stayed peaceful. But you still built the Harbinger. You still built weapons." Chen nodded. "We did. After we mastered time, we looked back and saw all the moments when we almost lost everything. This moment, this invasion, We saw how close humanity came to being forced into becoming warriors. So we built 12 ships, not to conquer, just to protect. To make sure our peaceful past stayed peaceful. And if another empire attacks, they won't, Chen said confidently. Word will spread. The three empires will tell others what happened here. About the ship that could control time. About the humans who showed mercy even when they could have taken revenge. That story will become legend. And legends protect better than weapons. Min Jun hoped he was right. Chen stood to leave. There's one more thing you should know. In our databases, we found a message. You wrote it yourself, 50 years from now, in your old age. You asked us to give it to you today, after the treaty was signed. He handed Min Jun a datapad. Read it after I leave, Chen said. It's private, between you and your future self. They shook hands. Then Chen returned to his shuttle. Min Jun watched the Harbinger prepare to depart. The ship's blue lights pulsed one final time. Space twisted. Reality bent. And the Harbinger vanished, returning to its own time 800 years ahead. Min Jun looked at the datapad. His hands shook slightly as he activated it. The message was in his own handwriting, but older, shakier. Dear younger me, it read. Today you saved humanity. Not with weapons, not with threats, with patience, with mercy, with the belief that peace is always worth fighting for. The next 50 years won't be easy. You'll face more threats, more challenges. But remember this moment. Remember that we were protected, not by armies, but by love. Our descendants loved us enough to reach back through time itself to save us. That's the real measure of success. Not how strong you become, but how much love you create. Be proud. You chose peace. And because of that choice, 800 years from now, humanity is still choosing peace, still exploring, still making friends. You did well. Rest easy. The future is bright. Min Jun read the message 3 times. Then he smiled. He had come to this negotiation expecting to fail, expecting to watch humanity be conquered. Instead, he had witnessed something amazing. He had seen the future protect the past. He had seen strength used for mercy instead of revenge. And he had learned the most important lesson of all. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the Harbinger, wasn't temporal technology, wasn't physics-defying power. Humanity's greatest weapon was that 800 years in the future, they still remembered to be kind. They still remembered to be human. And that was worth protecting.